Don't forget drink every day. We can continue our story from page 164, directing the story. The design equation. Show what was the mysterious design equation that the wizard created. The element of design plus the principle create the magic effect of design. Element, principle, effect. What is actually on the page? Point, lines, plane, age, shape, value, size, color, and the principle, how the elements are arranged, balance, position, dominance, unity, alternation and repetition, contrast and similarity. Symmetry, rhyme, effect, the representational illusion that the viewer complete their own mind. Design is very important tool to help make sure we present one idea at a time in a pleasing way. Element of design. What is on the page? The elements of design are what are actually on the frame, such as point, line, plane, shape, and colors. Principle of design. How to organize what in the page. The principle are how the elements are arranged for aesthetic and dynamic excitement. Principles such as unity, balance, and dominance require the multiple elements be subordinate and a principle. The most important design principle in contrast. It is extremely important to note that the principles are not designed just for official design, but apply to every aspect of film, including actor, performance, lighting, design, story design, and sound design. Effect of design. Illusion created by elements and principle. The effect of design are the illusion created the flat screen such as light, depth, volume, form, motion, temperature, and atmosphere. They are created by element organized by the principle. Good design is based on body experience. The body contains rhyme, balance, grace, and direction. It reaches upward defying gravity. Let it be your guide. As we saw the gesture drawing, each activity has a dominant thrust and all of the musical are subordinated working together toward the main goal. The body also needs room around it in order to move. They need to be negative space or breathing room, balance and counterbalance work throughout the body. Foot, heels, shoulder and roads, modes of reverse and lack of stable. The enemy 7-1 of good design. My design class never told me that there were enemy of design. The two main enemy of good design are boredom and confusion. Boring evidence create a lack of visual interest of excitement. Better, the simply change began to create interest. In the case, simple gradation of tone. Boring, repetition of predictable can create boredom. We know what we expect. Better, variety can create fantastic and feeling of motion and surprise. Boring, symmetrical can be boring. Changing the angle can bring the little life. Confusing, bad tangle, flatten space and catch up the eye. Simple element create interest and resorb depth. Confusing, jealous unless you are artist Jackson Pollock. Word for clarity, confusing, crowding, living breathing room and negative space. Confusing, high contrast and spotliness is hard to read. Provide transition and cluster darks together. Confusing, without a center of attention you doesn't know where to look. Lead the eye to the principle and make sure there is time to read it. Use the design principle to avoid boredom and confusion. Let's go back to sketch table and see how the sea designed her tail to continue to entertain the Sultan. Meanwhile, Go has his own problem. Luzan, I have to admit your plan is working. Sketch table start her drawing. Clover stand in Daisy will look out. Clover throw a small rock in the jello window. The girls run off. The rock hit Go in the head. Go, ow, Go, look at the rock and think that Stick's new threw it. Go throw it at the Stick. Stick wake up and rub his head. Stick take the rock and put it in his pocket. The Sultan laughs. Let every bewildered in his image. Morning brings excursion day for Go and Sticks. The excursion shelters his aches. The cat thrilled, watched anxiously. Clover stepped from the crowd. She begins her plan. Go, Stick, I'm sorry I got you into the storm. Stick is touched. Stick reached his pocket for a tissue, but inside to find the rock. There are not attached. It's drawing showing cutting the rope bridge and Go Stick jumping on the bridge. The plan drowns on Stick. The glance oversight Clover and the work on the bridge. The ropes almost got. Psst. Can wait. We're about to execute. Stick gets the good to look. What's wrong with your eyes? Go grabs second round stick. Jump, 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 and the rope on the bridge. It gives away. They go flying. The other side. Smash. We made it go. Go. Oh no. What happened to Go? Let's show that what was happened. Go is gone. The Sultan looks, but he is looking over the drawing at Scansable. Scansable becomes aware that she is being watched. She turns away. The accident doesn't go unnoticed by Duzan. Scansable slowly raises her eyes. The Sultan smiles. She hides behind her drawing. Clover screams. Clover's father realized that she fallen for Go. The catfish looked over the edge, high atop Clover Tower. Clover word, where were you thinking? Falling for a micron. Clover hides her drawing of Go. Her father pushes her aside. He takes the drawing. He rips the drawing to shreds. The piece of the fall to the floor. Clover grabs, tears fill her eyes. Go pictured in piece line of the floor. Clover mours at her window, drawing piece of ashes. They fall below, down into the darkness. Go rub his head, having slid down a lava tube. So Go is alright? Go look up to the light and piece of the paper fall. He look at the paper and doesn't notice that. He is baking right in the giant web, struggling to get free. Go gets tangled worse. A shadow from Go surround Wo. Is that how it's informed Go? Finally, finding his true love only to become to be an appetite. Scarecrow sat down and loves drawing. The Sultan can keep his eye over her. She quickly blow out the candle. Avoiding the awkward situation, the Sultan leaves for the night. When he is out of earshot, then somebody got a crush at Scarecrow. Whereas Elhefsittel walked out of the balcony. I think it hit her nerve. Scarecrow doesn't stop. She gazes out to the stars. Scarecrow to look and see. A sock puppet. Duzan. Oh, Scarecrow, my darling. My love for you is greater than all the stars in the heaven. Kiss me. Scarecrow began to grow annoyed. The puppet leave. Then Scarecrow poked her head out and smiled at her sister. Scarecrow is getting. She melted into a laugh. Duzan joined her sister and the Bogani, and they talked light into the night. Well, things are not looking good for Go. Everyone think he is dead, and he believes he is about to eat him out and some kind of monster. This tension has worked up the Sultan because he is certainly falling under Scanstable's spell. Directing the eye with composition. Composition is the position of all part in a picture, in a rhyme or repetition of part of a picture. It is an arrangement different shape to unify everything around the center and interest focal point of the work. It is always essential to good art. Plato, the famous philosopher in ancient Greece, summed up the complex of art of composition a single page. He explained that the composition consists of diversity with unity. Diversity increases to variety. Unity gives a self of belonging and order. There are two ways of fight the enemy, boredom and confusion, a good design. Our visual God is clear. Direct the eye of what you want to appear to look at it clearly and dramatically. General guide of composition. We want to keep the viewer eye focused on the center of attention of the image, yet allow the eyes to move through the image without leaving the frame. The statement implies three things. First is the creation of center attention of focal point for an image. Dominance and contrast are used to achieve this. The viewer eyes will focus on the area of greatest contrast in the shot. You have to directly the viewer attention to telling details of the skin. This is achieved in close-up. It says, look here, this is important. Remember, every shot is a close-up of what you want to say to your audience, even it is a shot as wide as the universe. Another way of creating focus of attention is to use the camera to literally focus on what we want to show the audience and let the background dissolve into a soft focus field of a blurry colors. This makes for a very strong figure or ground relationship. The figure pops right out of us. Using the light can also accomplish the same goal. Either silhouette, a figure against the silhouette background, or light is figured against the dark background. And again, the figure will pop up. Backlight in a character can create a halo effect. that helps the character read against the background. Second, we want to keep the viewer eyes moving throughout the frame. This happens automatically. The viewer eyes constantly scan the screen looking for something that interests them. Our job is to give the eyes pathway. This is accomplished by using everything in the shot as the arrow of a pathway for the eyes. Ideally, we want to create a loop that the eyes can travel and return to the focus of attention. The third method is to make sure that there are not any unintentional arrow of pathway that leads the eye of the picture or frame. We want to block the exit. Pay attention to how your eyes move through this drawing. The bird is the foreground dominance of the picture. We follow his look to the child bird looking at the book. We then follow the line of the book to bring out the art of foreground and back to the main figure. The dark background keeps our attention on the silhouette main figure. The light picture on the wall helps counterbalance the bright foreground figure. French artist Honor Darmer is a master of this type of composition design. Director, the viewer eyes lock. We have seen that every part of the picture grammatically say, "Look at me!" One of the most powerful way of directing the audience eyes is to say, "Look where I am looking." The viewer eyes will follow the eyes of character in the scene. This follows the general rule of shot in a cinema. First, a character look at something and this followed by a show of what they are looking at. Compositional reading. When we look at a picture, our eyes scan the way we read. We start to scan a picture from left to right and top to bottom. Why will this matter? Well, if you think of an image as a joke, if we follow the image from left to right, then the punchline comes last. It is reserved the punchline comes first, and this is not what we usually want. However, this is a relative culture. If you have ever tried to read manga in the original Japanese, you know that they read from right to left. The pig arrives to the house, or the second pig sees the pig arrive. In the first image, the pig is the house, see the other pig running off. It is a subtle distinction but very important, because the punchline of the story comes last. Where are we going? Another time, the eyes reading point is important is when you have a clear character of for one geographic place to another. It's useful to follow the standard of map orientation. When we look at a map, we have to need to keep the west on the left and east on the right. So if plane is flying down New York to Los Angeles, it should be pointed to the left. Movie composition need to be very simple. Movement complex, the eye reading. When you are driving 65 miles per hour past a billboard, you are limited to how much information you can present. Always use significant movement and avoid unreasonable move and they distract the eye. Position the camera to get good silhouette and inspiration from the background. If the action moves, we can move the camera along with it. One way to achieve looks readable composition is to use simple shape to base the composition on. Letter shape work well as C, S, L, T, X, V. Look in the mirror to see inverted version of this. Other shape that work well as spiral or shortburns. Triangles are very powerful composition shape. Try interlock your shape with like a jigsaw puzzle. Circle can be tricky to incorporate such into a composition because they have such strong closure. It makes it difficult to integrate them with other shape. It is often better to use partial circle. Another way to think about composition to subdivide the screen, placing the focus on attention on third works very well. Avoiding dividing the composition in half because this often is boring. If you want a center figure of in middle of the screen, you can add other elements to each side of that make it less symmetrical. In order to demonstrate this principle of composition picture, we are now going to analyze image from sketchable and dumb love story. In the most shot, even the sketchable is dominant in the frame. Our attention is go to the zone reaction. Sketchable has already made up her mind and we no longer see her eyes, so we don't engage with her. Even though the lover are the smallest thing in the shot, our eyes go right to them. We have clear stage for their action free from distraction. The bridge is functioned as a ring point to them. The scan slide used the upshot to show the enormous scales of the strange machine. We feel small in this room. It's just a sunburst to unify the composition. This is a great example of the viewer eyes following the eyes of the character. Gu is dominant and we follow his look to Clover father and the scientist. Then our eyes meet to the rabbit who looks back at the Gu and Stick. Here is the sword is organized into overlapping planes with depth. There is a background, midground, and foreground with silhouette figures overlapping in the background. The overall composition takes the form of an X. Gu and Sticks are in the base of triangle here. Our attention also goes to them because they are in pole of light. The judge desk has a distorted reverse perspective that makes them feel smaller and more in trouble. Here Gu and Stick are counterbalanced to the judge desk. They lean in together while the desk looms over them. This is also divide the canvas of the third. Madame acknowledged fellow the presence of a single pool of light. Our eye know exactly where to look when Clover is one facing us. Light also establish the mysterious mood of the skin. There is a lot going on in this shirt. With the growing element, our eyes go right to Gu and Stick, trying to sneak into the ball. Visually, as we already saying, they are surrounded. This is a U-shaped composition against Gu and Stick in a pool of light with a little stage of action. The X also point right at Gu and Sticks, a hint of things to come in this weight-shaped composition. Here we are right in the middle of the action. It is very simply clear, strong diagonal that falls with gravity of vertical. Here the light is dark, leave the eye. Gu look up toward the silver of the light. The space is closing in. Another triangular composition with a full light in the action. Here is a reverse L-shaped composition. Here is an I-shape tilted at what is now a Dutch angle. The slight skewing makes the shot more tense. The reverse N shape has a lot of tension from the Dutch angle and that asymmetrical balance of Gu and the ladder. Another reverse L shape with Gu breaking the L with the telescope, leading our eyes to him. An X-shaped composition with action losing the axis. Gradually, A-shaped composition work very well. An O-shaped position goes in. Stick in the focus on the triangle part of the light. Our eyes shift between the dominant sketch rebel and her looking in the mirror to the Sultan behind her. An upside-down shape traps the light from above, closing them off. Spiral at the eye very powerfully. Here is the simple C shape of the outside. Crisscrossing line providing the grid composition for Scratchable and her still to travel through. Here our attention is down to the light of the doorway. Then our eyes travel to the light sky and window. The door is centered in the composition. Here the composition is created by triangular light coming from the window. The Sultan receives the shadow while he freezes in the hot sheet. Finally, we have a radial sunburst composition with light engaged from the center. This underlining creates mystery. A magical effect. How a picture makes you feel. In the beginning of this chapter, we saw the beginning pay more attention to the contents of an image. That's the structure. Usually, we are consciously more aware of the content because the structure is below the threshold of awareness. But even though structure is less visible, it can often speak more powerfully than the content of the text. Once again, it would like to tell you a story in order to demonstrate the power of Think's next concept. Earlier, I told the story of my storyboard work on Pocahontas. I am now going to show you how it applies to design, composition, and directing the eyes. The first pass of Pocahontas' farewell sequence was storyboard, directly from the script. The sequence was completely written, but it was all talk. Which was fine, it was a novel, but it wasn't a novel. It was supposed to be a moving picture, animated, it told visually. No true dialogues, all waiting is rewrite and this was simply the next rewrite, the first draft using picture. The sequence was about an exciting and helpless as ending of summer camp movie. Everyone includes Pocahontas was standing around the dock as they watched John Smith and his ship leave for England. See you next summer. Pocahontas was supposed to be feeling lost and alone. The image telling the story never showed Pocahontas alone, which is exactly how she felt. The image didn't match the story we were trying to tell. However, I felt that it could be more. So I asked for the opportunity to rework this sequence. Now, how will I do this? Pocahontas has the unique distinction of being Disney's first feature to run counter to the Disney's brand. This wasn't going a happy ever after movie. Originally, the film was to be modeled after the Romeo and Juliet and West Side Story. They thought they had a tragedy. What was the first thing I did? I started watching all the sad movie that I could find. I watched Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, Ghost, and many more. Then I watched a movie that helped me realize they had the wrong paradigm for Pocahontas. It wasn't like a Romeo or Juliet or West Side Story.